Hello again, this is John, and today we have an Elna Transforma, and this is made in Switzerland. It's a straight stitch only machine, so there's not a lot of extras to talk about. This arm is the motor controller, so that flips down and another arm flips down. Then you push against this with your leg, and it makes the machine go. Now we'll just start over here. Since there's no zigzag control, this is stitch length, so it goes from 0 to 4, and then reverse is over to the right. This little knob is a stop, so if you wanted to go only a certain distance each way, like I have it set at 2 now, I would spin this little knurled knob in until it stops, and then it only goes that far both directions. Spin the little knob out and it'll go the full range. On top is the Bobbin Winder. That pops up and flips down, and I'll wind a bobbin a little bit later. So the only other thing is this is presser foot tension, and then a knob down here on the side is the upper thread tension. And this is a little tray that comes with the sewing machine. Slides out. And the bobbin is a little backwards on these. It is in the back. Normally the bobbin is in the front, but this one resides back here. And this is a full rotary hook, so the hook doesn't oscillate, it just revolves in one direction. And I should have that up when I'm rotating it. The only other thing on here is there's a little switch on the side, and that's for the lamp. As soon as you plug it in, the motor can run. So that switch on the side is only for the lamp. This is a direct drive machine, so the motor is sitting vertical behind here, and it has a little rubber disc on the end of the motor that just rubs on the back side of this hand wheel. And I'm sure most people have heard that with these friction drive machines, if the motor is pushing against the hand wheel for any extended period of time, the little rubber disc gets a flat spot on it. Okay, I pulled the hand wheel off, and here's the motor, and this is the rubber drive wheel. And to get the flat spot off on this one, I stuffed paper in here all around. Couple of sheets of paper back behind and then one out here, and then I took a piece of I think 60 or 100 grit sandpaper on a large flat blade screwdriver, and then I ran the motor and just put the sandpaper against the wheel, and it shaved off all the high spots, and so now it runs quite well. Here's the hand wheel, and it has kind of a little taper where the friction wheel rides, and so this also has a taper on it. And most bearings that I've found in this machine have these bronze inserts in them, so it's a very well made machine, other than the fact that this little rubber drive wheel gets a lump on it, or a flat spot on it. This tray also doubles as a storage compartment. Underneath, this particular one happened to come with a few extra feet. Zipper foot, I can't remember what those types of feet are called, and a darning foot. Here's the portable carrying case for the Elna Transforma, and it's got quite a few details that are quite interesting. If you look on the bottom, there are two little pins here and then two little rubber feet here, and when this thing gets opened up, these the pins snap into the little rubber grommets. These grommets are a little bit hard though, so it's not working for me. But when it was new, that's what it would do. I'll show you that a little later. And then there's also these four little posts that are actually screws that go up through and can screw into the machine. So the machine is bolted into the carrying case. So to open one of these up, we undo the two latches and undo this third latch, and that opens this part up, and then the whole thing opens like this. And there's a little clip down here that this part then folds down into and snaps into place. So now that's held in place, so when you turn the thing over, this won't bang around. The center part is hinged, and these two pins are supposed to go on these two rubber grommets and snap into place like that. So now that we have our work surface set up, we can bring the sewing machine in and just slide it into place. And then you have a larger work surface for this machine. First thing we're going to do is wind a bobbin, and it won't show up on the camera, but if you look on the inner diameter, there's a groove running lengthwise, and that groove mates up with a little protrusion that's on the bobbin winding pin. And if you have a bobbin like a normal class 15 bobbin, it doesn't have a groove on the inside. So you'll need a bobbin that has that groove in order to be able to use it on the bobbin winder, because it's got this little protrusion out the side, and that catches that groove and allows the bobbin to slide down and be locked in place. And then to wind a bobbin, you undo the hand wheel, so the hand wheel can spin freely without the mechanism going. And then we take our thread, go through this loop up here, over to the bobbin, poke it through the hole, and start the motor running. Now I'm not going to wind very much on here, I'm just showing how it's done. So that's how you wind it, and then when you get enough thread on here that it hits this little black piece, then it tips the bobbin away from the black piece, and it disengages it from the hand wheel. So that's an automatic stop on the bobbin winder. And then when you're done winding, you just tip that pin back down again. So now that we have our bobbin wound up, we can insert the bobbin into the bobbin case in the bottom. And there's a little channel on the back side, so the thread goes out the back, goes into that channel, and then comes around to the right side. And that makes it run down into the lower thread tension spring, and then you just pull it forward until we get the upper thread put in place. So now the upper thread goes through a loop on the back side and just winds down around the bottom. And the tension discs for the upper thread tension are right behind this black knob. So that just pulls through. And the thread goes through the take-up lever, down through this loop. Here's one more loop that rides on top of the needle. Let you hook that through the back side. And then put the thread through the needle. One rotation and it should pick up the bottom thread. And we're just about ready to start sewing. Close the cover. And there we go. Now I've mounted the machine into the case with those 4 screws that go up through the bottom, so it's tight in the case now. I've got some jean material here. It's the waistband of a pair of jeans, so it's got 2 to 4 layers of fabric here that we'll try to sew through. And we're just going to do the longest stitch possible. I don't know how well that shows up, but looks like we skipped a stitch right there. So the needle to the hook dimension, or the needle height even, might need to be adjusted a little bit. So this is an Elna Transforma, and this little cover comes off of 2 screws, and underneath there is a gear that isn't used in this machine, but from what I've read online, you can replace this cover with the cover to do zigzag. So with a few extra parts you can put a different cover on that has settings for zigzag, and obviously you'd have to have a needle that can swing back and forth. So I think that's why they call this a transforma, is it could transform from a straight stitch to a zigzag without too much trouble. So the Swiss made, I think it's 1950s vintage. And the motor control is inside, so it's all self-contained, and when you're done you just fold things up, close the doors, and you can put it away. So thank you for watching.